Hi, this is Dr. Jennifer Levin from Grief to Growth, and I'm here this morning with a sudden death insight. Today is July 9th, and it is a grief anniversary for me. It is the death of my grandfather, who did not die from a sudden death. He actually died from colon cancer, and he died 21 years ago. And believe it or not, it's probably the most significant death that I've experienced in my life. I have lost several other people, but my grandfather was probably one of the closest people that I've ever lost and have the privilege to have such a wonderful relationship. Um, it's still a hard day after so many years. His loss affects me at different times throughout the year, but July 9th, it always hits me. It's also a difficult day, although not so much anymore because it's my wedding anniversary and it's a marriage that ended abruptly and not under good circumstances. And my grandfather died a couple months after my wedding anniversary. Excuse me. So he died a couple months after my 5-year wedding anniversary. But so this day is just kind of a weird day for me altogether. So, what do I do on July 9th? I do a couple things. I light a candle for him every year. And I don't live near the cemetery anymore. I used to go to the cemetery every year on July 9th. I'm Jewish and it closes on Saturdays. And so I remember the first year wanting to be at the cemetery so bad, and it was a Saturday and not being able to go and just being devastated. But I did go to the cemetery every year. I went to a cemetery a lot the first year, and I would just go and talk to him. And I remember just wondering if he could hear me, and if he knew everything I was telling him, because I couldn't wrap my head around whether or not he knew what was going on in my life. But the other thing I do is I call my dad every year on July 9th, and I always say, "Do you know what today is?" And of course he does. It was his father, and just talk about how much I miss him. And I feel closest to my grandfather by talking to my father. And so that helps me stay connected. My grandfather was really close to my son. We didn't think he was going to see my son be born. And he got to see my son live for 2 years. And he called my son his medicine. And so, also talking to my son or talking to my son about my grandfather helps me a lot. And so, um, it's another way that helps me feel close to him. So, one of the things that my grandfather would always say at the end of a conversation, he was into boating, he was a boater, and he would say, over, because when you would talk on a radio, um, that's how, I guess, a hand radio, that's how boaters would talk. And so whenever he would end a conversation, he would say over. And so um, I want to end this today by just saying over. I love you, Grandpa. I miss you all of the time. Some days are harder than others. After 21 years, the pain can still cut so deep. You've touched my life so much, and I miss you.